Good morning, readers. It's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. And if this is your first time, welcome. And I hope you'll take a look around, stick around, watch some more videos, give them a thumbs up if you like them, and give me some feedback about what you read, what you like to see on BookTube, and whatever else you think I need to know about you. So this is the second time I have recorded this video. The first time I did it a few days ago, it was great and I loved it, and the file somehow didn't make it through to its final form. So I couldn't even edit it or find it or download it. It was a weird, I don't know, a weird Zoom thing maybe. Zoom has really been taxed by this whole coronavirus shelter in place, work in place situation. So, and maybe it was me, maybe it was my equipment. Nevertheless, I'm here today, quickly, late, later than I wanted to be, to talk about my April book haul from 2019, to revisit that and to decide what it is from that list that I'm going to read this month. And that's important because I'm creating my TBR and I'm right at the wire at the end of April, beginning of May, to get this going. So I hauled a lot of books in April of 2019. There's a lot to choose from. And so let's get going and see what it is that is really calling to me to read this time around. So the first book I hauled last year was from my little free library, and it's Lady Almina and the Real Downton Abbey by the Countess of Carnarvon. This is the story of Lady Almina, who lived in Highclere Castle, which is the setting of the filming of Downton Abbey, and she lived there from the time she got married until her death, I believe. And she also lived there during the time where they did turn it into a hospital to support wounded soldiers after World War I, which was, if you've watched Downton Abbey, a big plot point for one of the seasons, because the war began and they made the decision to open the house as a makeshift hospital for those soldiers returning home. I'm really interested in the real story of Highclere Castle and the people who lived in it, and I recently finished Downton Abbey again, all of the 6 seasons, so it's kind of been on my mind. So this is interesting that I'm kind of in this space where I am with having rewatched the series now, a year after I hauled this. So that's clearly a possibility. It is nonfiction, of course, but it's actually, Lady Almina is interesting in the sense that she didn't have the most clear lineage to become a Countess of Carnarvon because of her parenting. Her mother was impregnated by Sir Alfred Rothschild, and they were not married. So for her to have gotten made the match with this particular man who brought her to Highclere Castle and gave her the title of a countess is pretty amazing. I also got Wonder from my little free library last year, another one up the street that a friend of mine created in front of their home. This is a signed first edition copy by R.J. Palacio. I love this book the first time I read it. It's a middle grade novel, and it follows a boy who's born with a disfigurement and has many surgeries to try to help him through that process. He also decides he wants to go back to real school, and so this is the story of his entry back into public school. His parents had homeschooled him for a long time, and how he faces that with bravery, courage, and the support of some unique friends. And I loved it, and I love having a signed first edition copy. And I said last year that I might give this to my granddaughter because she also loves it, and I still might. I just haven't, obviously, in the last year. Now, I included this in last year's haul, but I really didn't haul these books physically. I got them from the library, and I read all 4 of them, actually. So that was An Anonymous Girl by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Buchanan. That was a lovely read. Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, I enjoyed tremendously. Nine Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty, and Bird Box by Josh Malerman. So those were the four I pulled in April and read a lot. I must have read a lot of books in April. Okay, then we went to celebrate Independent Bookseller Day at Octavia Books in New Orleans with our youngest, Megan, and I picked up Wondersmith, the sequel to Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I do want to end up getting book one in hard copies at some point, but I wanted to read this right away because it was a sequel and I loved Nevermore so much, and I didn't. I did not. So that's a possibility. I'm not giving a lot of detail about these today because there's so many of them. So you can always look back at last year's haul to find out more. Lisa picked up The Relic Master by Christopher Buckley, and I'm interested in reading this too, and was when she got it. So I may get to this. It is a historical fictional comedy about a man who deals in relics and artifacts and antiquities in the 1500s, and they may or may not be authentic antiquities, and you may or may not be selling them for a lot of money. It was also World Book Day in April of last year, as it is every year. And Kindle always has a bunch of international novels for you to download for free for a period of time during World Book Day. And so last year I downloaded 3 of those. One was All This, let me get the cover up. One was All This I Will Give to You by Dolores Redondo, which is a mystery about a man whose husband is killed in a car accident, and he discovers that he had kind of another life that he didn't know about. So that sounds fantastic. The Dark Heart by Joaquin Palmfist, which is a true crime story of greed, murder, and an unlikely investigator. And these are all translated from their original languages. And then finally, The Murmur of Bees by Sofia Segovia, a Mexican author. And this is somewhat, I think, a fantasy about a kind of a child with some magical or extraordinary powers. I love that cover. That would be a perfect summer read, I feel like. Maybe I said that last year with the fruit and the florals, and oh, that is also translated. So I got 3 ebooks. Haven't read any of them. So what am I going to pick to read this year? All This I Will Give to You sounds very intriguing. And I have been finishing, I have been reading more on my ebook, on my Kindle, on my iPad, in my Kindle app lately. And of course, the Downton Abbey also, the real story of Downton Abbey is also pulling me because of the recent reconnection to Downton Abbey on my part. And I am really looking for a book to get lost in and read quickly. 2 of these probably would do that for me. This might be a bit of a slower read. So I do have a readathon I'm going to be doing in May, Quarantine-a-thon. So I have books on that list. I think I'm going to pick up Wondersmith, and I will start this, and I'll just let myself read it at my own pace. So I don't have to finish it. I don't have to finish anything in the month of May, but I don't have to push myself to finish it. I may be able to find it somewhere where I can listen to it, so that would be great too. So I think I'm going to read these 2. I'm going to pick 2 from April of last year since it was such a big haul, and see if I can knock these out. And if there's space and time, I will next choose All This I Will Give to You by Dolores Redondo. Okay, so that's what I'm picking from April of last year. Thanks for joining me today, and I will be quickly bringing you the May haul revisit, which also got corrupted and didn't download. So we'll see if I can make that one happen too. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and stick around and tell me if you've read any of these books or if you plan to read any of these books and what you hauled in the month of April. Talk soon. Happy reading. Bye.